Welcome on in. Another day of college basketball. It must be the month of November. While I'm happy that it's here, I must say I do miss the convenience of betting Asian soccer. A lot of it would go down while I was sleeping, and deciding whether or not to take an over or under on a first half 1.5 or a full game 2.5 just seems very simplistic compared to what we have to do for college basketball. Last night with Mercer, that was a prime example of it. So, very frustrating game to watch, very frustrating total to live bet. And I ended up losing by, I think, a point or half a point on that live total that I took in the Maxwell Smart Discord. But yeah, it was an interesting night. Sacred Heart was nice, and then Hartford scored too many points, but we move on and we learn to fight another day. So I'll get right into it now. Not a gigantic card whatsoever, but a nice looking one. So first we have Davidson and Wright State. Now, this is just something that I need to snap myself out of, but I keep on taking these road favorites in situations where I probably shouldn't, and this is another one. Now, Davidson definitely is quality with the services of Foster Lawyer, but after that, that's where I really start to worry and have some concern. I didn't like what I saw in the exhibition game against Guilford from everybody else. Obviously, guys were able to get into double digits, but it's how you do it. Sam Meninga missing 5 free throws, that's a big deal to me. Foster Lawyer got there 11 times. I think he's only going to be better this year with more usage and more shot attempts. But he was very poor inside the arc, driving to the bucket. Everything that he got was from the free throw line, was from the three-point line. So that is making me worry and making me wonder, well, maybe I'm on the wrong side and I need to get on Wright State in this one. Now, Wright State's very interesting to me because we haven't seen how they played, but let's not forget, this team lost Grant Basile. This team lost Tanner Holden. And now you want to bring in Amari Davis, and then you have to look at this roster and you're like, well, Tim Finicky, Trey Calvin, Amari Davis, and Keaton Norris. That's your 4-guard backcourt. Aside from Tim Finicky, none of the other 3 guys can play the wing and defend because they just don't have the size. Now you need to find your next breakout front court scorer because you've had 2 recently, and the only candidate that I see on the roster from my player projections is A.J. Braun. So for Scott Nagy, who's a really good mid-major coach, to have success in this game, he's going to need to get off to a good start. He's going to need to go into the half winning this game, and he's going to have to get an up-tempo style where he is not going to be struggling to get his team to 75 points. If they get to 75 points, they have a chance to win, and the more I look at it, it's opening night. It's a home opener. I do think we're going to see the best from Wright State. I'm going to be buying off my Davidson play, and I'm going to find myself onto Wright State first half and full game, maybe even the money line. So when you have so many hours to analyze your bets that you bet overnight, you sometimes make some changes. Now, going to this next game, Youngstown State and Tennessee Martin. Now, I thought UT Martin was going to have a much better game than they did against Pittsburgh, so I am a little concerned that maybe I'm just reading them wrong and they're going to screw me over tonight. The bottom line is Youngstown State needs to freaking make their free throws and cut down on the goddamn turnovers. Against Canisius, the fact that they scored 92 points is all good and gravy and everything, but when you turn the ball over 20 times and put them on the free throw line 17 times, that's problematic for me. That's a bad recipe. That's a recipe for disaster. They're going to have to clean up that aspect of their game on the offensive side of the ball and on the defensive side of the ball. I need to see this team making free throws. And when I see multiple guys that should be hitting their free throws that are upperclassmen that have been playing college basketball for this long, it's unacceptable to me. So Youngstown, what I like about their offense is their ability to get to the rim. This is a team that can dunk the ball, and there's multiple guys that can do it. Dwayne Cohill, Malik Green definitely had good games against Canisius. Now let's see them go up against UT Martin, where I do think that UT Martin has some similar issues. KJ Simon was not good from the free throw line. The team in general could not hit a three. And if that continues tonight against Youngstown, who's going to give them a fair amount of opportunities, let's not forget Canisius took 33 attempts. It could be over City in this game. So I like the over. We've seen the move. We've seen a 3-point move to the total. I think that Youngstown scores into the 80s tonight. And when you see a spread like this, and you're assuming that we're going to have that extension of the game with free throws, UT Martin's team total over doesn't look too shabby either. So I think that there's some value on 73 or 72.5. I wouldn't really want to go that much higher, but I don't see why we don't see at least 160 points in this game. So a lot of good guards on both sides, and hopefully lots of free throws and fast break transition opportunities. Okay, Hampton and James Madison. Now, I find this game really interesting because I don't think that Hampton's really getting any kind of respect. I wouldn't expect them to get respect. They don't get it in football. They don't get it really in basketball. But this is a team that has a lot of chemistry going into the season. And what they added on the transfer portal, thanks to Coach Joyner, was Jordan Nesbitt from St. Louis, who just didn't fit in Memphis. He didn't fit in St. Louis. Maybe third time's the charm, and he's going to fit in here. I like the fact that Dejor Dickens, the 7-footer, is still around. So you have some good size defending the rim. Russell Dean, even though it was an exhibition game, he did put up 28 points. And I think that that's something that he can build off. Now, the problem with Russell Dean has always been, can he limit the turnovers? If he can, I do think that Hampton is going to be able to challenge. If not, I think that James Madison's three-point shooting with the addition of Noah Friedel is only going to improve things for them. So this is a real tough matchup. It's tough for me to bet on a side either way. I do think that we got to see points in this game. I think that with a home opener, no, not a home opener, a first home game versus a Division I opponent, James Madison, who's now moved to the Sun Belt. I think, yeah, they moved to the Sun Belt. That is something that they want to start off with a bang. You know, they're going to be able to access a higher level of recruits in this conference in the regions that their conference foes live in. I just think that it's a good opportunity for James Madison. And if James Madison wants to leave a good impression on people like us, then they should score some fucking points. Both these teams have experience and talent and continuity coming back. Vado Morse, Takai Molson, Justin Amati, Julian Wooden, Alonzo Sully. All these guys played together last year. So Mark Bennington has a very good situation. He added Noah Friedel, who's overcome his mental issues, and he got Mezzi Offram from Mount St. Mary, who is a breakout candidate, in my opinion, with his strength, size, and ability to get to the bucket. I like points in this game. I really hope that it turns out to be the case. Sorry, hold on one sec. All right. I'm not going to talk much about Drake and IUPUI just because I did do like a little 2-minute video on Twitter. My favorite play is in that. If you want to support the content, just watch that and whatever. But I just think that if Drake has their full ensemble of players, I don't see IUPUI being able to compete. Their ball security is terrible. How they value their possessions is terrible. I just don't see anything positive. If this line was at 125, I would take the over. But if I see a 1 and then a 3, I'm not going to take any overs in this game, plain and simply. All right. LSU and UMKC. Now, UMKC, I don't really know what to expect from them. When we see these Division I teams lose to non-Division I opponents, we sometimes see an elevated level of play that next game. However, when I talk and look at this LSU team, I'm not really sure that's going to be something that you can rely on in this situation. LSU is obviously transitioning from a pretty crooked regime, but now with Coach Matt McMahon bringing in half of Murray State's roster and the fact that he added a healthy Adam Miller, got fucking Wilkinson, who's definitely a big-time he got Tyrell Ward, who's definitely a big-time wing player. I just don't see a weakness, like even down the depth chart, you look at what LSU has, and Kendall Coleman from Northwestern State was a double-double machine last year. I don't see how UMKC has the talent, even if they score more than 56 points in the game. I just don't see it. I think LSU's defense is going to be good. I think you're going to see some pressure from Murray State. And with their guard rotation, they can run out freaking Justice Hill and Trey Hannibal together. They can mix in Cam Hayes if they need some relief there. But Adam Miller is going to be the alpha dog on this team. And the question will be, can he be a 15-point per game scorer, or can he be an 18.5 or more? I think that 18.5 is probably looking pretty good for him. And I'm really interested to watch this game and see how LSU's pace, tempo, and style of offense comes out. 137 and a half. It's similar to last night with the South Carolina game. I like first half over. I like full game over in that game. I just think that LSU is going to go wire to wire. I think that they're going to make money for you tonight, and I just think that we're going to see points from them, and we're going to see points early. With this number going down from 142 and a half to 137, if you say that UMKC is going to score under 60 points, it just doesn't leave a ton of room for value if you're betting the under. That's how I look at it. So I would be surprised if this game doesn't hit 140 or more. All right, let's talk a little Monmouth and Seton Hall, those sons of bitches from Jersey. I apologize to anybody that's living in the state of New Jersey because you can't bet on schools in New Jersey. But with King Rice's Monmouth team, this is a team in transition. This is a program in transition. And from what I've read on injury reports, hopefully they turn out to be correct, Jarvis Vaughn, probably their best big man, is not going to play tonight. So you're taking out of my projections 12-9. So I don't really know where those rebounds and where those points are going to come from. Aside from Miles Foster and Miles Ruth, I'm not really familiar with a lot of this roster. And with 4 freshmen, I think 3 sophomores that may see rotation minutes, it's just going to be a real work in progress. And with these young teams, unless they have some sort of big difference maker, I just don't know what to expect from it. So for me, I have to look at Seton Hall. I have to analyze what I know about Seton Hall. What I know about Seton Hall is they got a new coach in Shaheen Holloway. And Shaheen Holloway brings that St. Peter style of defense over with him, along with Casey Nadafu. So if you watch the Elite Eight and the run that St. Pete's went on, you know who this guy is. Now, I think that Seton Hall offensively is going to be able to have some success. I do like Jameer Harris, formerly of American. I like Alamir Dawes, formerly of Clemson. I like Kadari Richmond. I like Kadari Richmond's length. I don't really know if he's going to be your best number one scoring option, but you also have Femi Odukali from Pittsburgh, who I think is a better option. The one issue that I see for Seton Hall, just getting off to a good start. That's key for them. Like at this number at 20, we need to see them up 15 at halftime. They got to freaking dash the hearts real quick if they want to have some success and cover this number. I think that they're capable of doing it. I'm just worried that maybe they come out a little slow, a little shabby, and they play lockdown defense, and Monmouth shoots himself in the foot. But I want Seton Hall to dominate this first half. I would love to see that. With Tyrese Samuel, fellow Canadian from Montreal, he's definitely going to have to really be a difference maker in the front court alongside Trey Jackson. Otherwise, he's just going to be playing freaking subpar minutes. One thing to definitely point out of the 3 injuries that Seton Hall has that I read about, the one that most concerns me is Alexis Yetna. You're taking probably a double-double out of your lineup, but you do have, like I said, Jackson and Samuel in the defo to replace that size. I think that this is a good first game for Seton Hall, also from a coaching perspective, because they were in the same conference as Monmouth last year. Monmouth is now in the, I think, CAA. So familiarity with the coaching staffs also, which could benefit Seton Hall in the end. All right, let's I am wearing my Army hat. Yeah. I always have a bunch of different hats. Okay, so for South Dakota State and Boise State, I'm plain and simply looking at South Dakota State. I think that with Boise, with what you bring back in Tyson Dagenhart and freaking Marcus Shavers and Max Rice is all good and gravy, but you lost your best rebounder. You lost your best ball handler. I just don't know if they've gone out and replaced those pieces. And even though I did not like a lot of the stuff that I saw from South Dakota State, I still think that they got a real shot going in here, regardless of the travel. Like, it's not like these guys took a bus to go to Boise, I think that the big thing for Eric Henderson's team is, can they get more dominant shooting? I think that the shooting was the problem in my eyes in the second half. This was a game that definitely was not heading towards the over. I feel like they scored 70 points and they scored less than 70 in the second half. I can't remember off the top of my head, but what I do remember was poor three-point shooting. Zeke Mayo's got to be that option. And while Matt Mims came up big, I just don't think that it's good enough. What I did find interesting was the production that you got from your front court players. Not seeing enough of William Kyle film before the season. I did not know that he was capable of having such smart shot selection and really focusing on how to score from the inner mid-range. Well, it worked out for him because he went 7 for 10 and scored 14 points. I think at the end of the day, this is a game where South Dakota State is able to challenge. I don't think that they win the game. I think they come up short because I just don't think that they're as talented as they were last year. But I'm not going to put 7 points in the faith of a Boise team that can go on scoring droughts, that can be a little slow sometimes getting going. And when you're talking about their point guard situation, taking Marcus Shavers or Max Rice and putting them on the ball is not a good thing in my eyes. I don't know who's going to play the point aside from those two kids. And both of them are better off the ball with someone feeding them freaking perimeter shots. So one thing that I will say, if this game is close late, Marcus Shaver is a candidate to hit a big shot. So I'm looking at South Dakota State full game, but I'm going to have a quick trigger in the second half if I see Boise making a move and using that, what I would perceive as dominant defense, to really stymie South Dakota State once they see what they're doing offensively. Now, Boise's going to have a lot of young guys playing. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. So, all right, let's move on to the extra board. Yes, Arthur, I know you like under the total there. Yeah, I don't like Boise at 5.5. What's going on, Sebastian? All right. When I look at American and Marist, this is obviously a revenge game from last year. Marist went down. There was a lot of scoring in this game, so I'm not totally convinced that this is a dead under. My number said 129, so there's still, by my numbers, is 2.5 points of value on the total, but I'm going with American. I like Coach Brennan's team. I like the combination of like Colin Smalls and Elijah Stevens, even though he's 5'9". But I think that Johnny O'Neal is going to have a big season. I think that Matt Rogers is going to have a big season. So I just feel like when I look at Americans' makeup this year, they're more experienced, they're a year older, and they've gone through some losing that I think has probably built some character in them. These are things that I can't actually know, but it just seems like common sense, you know? You still have a couple holdovers that bring you some extra leadership and upperclassmanness, and like Connor Nelson and Ben Lebarski. But I just think that this is a year that the Patriot League is sort of down, and that would provide a lot of opportunity to a group of guys that have now played together for a couple years to really take a step forward. But if this American team wants to go anywhere, Johnny O'Neal, Colin Smalls gotta lead the way, and you gotta get good guard play from the reserve guards and guys like Elijah Stevens. That's just the bottom line. Now, when I look at Marist, obviously they lost a lot, but I think that they're going to play slow. I think that they're going to utilize some of the size that they picked up. They did get Stephen Ingle, a fellow Canadian. I think that they're going to put a lot of pressure on Cam Ferris and Noah Harris to score the basketball. But right now, you know, with only 2 returners, I just don't know what this team's going to do. So I know the coach. I know what he normally wants his teams to do. And I think that if American really wants to stymie Marist and get out early, you know, then we got to see more than freaking 61.5 points in the first half. As someone who loves to bet an over, and I can freely admit that nowadays, I want to bet the first half over in this game. I want to see 62 points. So that would basically determine that American would be determining the tempo and American would be winning the game. So a lot of youngsters on this team. I wouldn't be surprised for Marist if John Dunny only goes 7 deep into the bench, but we'll see tonight, and that's the problem with a game like this. I just don't know. I'm basically guessing and then using my fucking numbers and power rankings. So, all right, let's talk about Lipscomb in South Dakota. I don't have a bet in this game, so I really don't know what to do in it. I think that when you look at Lipscomb, obviously Asadullah being back is a great thing offensively, a good rim protector, a guy that you can run the offense through. No one's going to get confused. My big concern is what we're going to get from the guards. You know, Will Pruitt's a solid point guard. Can he elevate the scoring? Trey Benham, I remember a game, probably the last game that they played, I think he had like 30 fucking points. So this is a guy that I think that can take a next step forward, and he's going to have the shots and opportunity to do so. Then when I look at Tommy Murr, I've been expecting him to be a better offensive weapon. That hasn't facilitated itself. But I do think that there's still opportunity with a new season to turn the page and take a step forward instead of taking a step back. I do think that if Lipscomb's going to have some success really defending the rim and stopping teams from scoring, which was something that they could not do last year, they're going to need Grant Assman to be able to provide some extra rim protection with his size. The wild card for Lipscomb is going to be Jacob Ognasevich. He is a three-point machine. I think that any game that he starts to hit them early, Lipscomb is going to push games over. The problem is he hasn't really played that well with Asadullah on the floor with him at the same time. So that's a little problematic for me. But this Lipscomb team looks like they have some potential when it comes to betting them on the team total when they're an underdog. And this is a situation that I've been considering throughout the afternoon. When I see 71.5 points with the way that they played defense last year and Lenny Acuff is still the coach, it makes me think that 71.5 is an attainable number. So if Lipscomb's going to have their way and they're going to be able to stay in this game, they got to score, because South Dakota, they were embarrassed by Wisconsin and they just did not have it early. I didn't like how AJ Plitzwit only took 5 shots but had as many turnovers. You know, Cruz Perro Hunt was the only one that looked good in that game, and he went 10 for 20 from the field. So he obviously recognized, I got to put these guys on my back, and I got to fucking try and lead the way. Obviously, with Wisconsin, the quick-footedness of the Coyotes did not help them. But I do think in their home opener against this team with a little less size and a little less high-quality skill when it comes to the defensive end, I think that South Dakota can score too. So I'm tempted to get on the over. I have not yet. The one play, like I said, that stuck out, though, was Lipscomb team total over. If you were to put a gun to my head and tell me you're never fucking a high-end lady of the night again unless you tell me exactly what to do on this game, then I would take freaking Lipscomb. I would take the over, and I would take Lipscomb team total over. But only one of the three would probably be a bet for me tonight, and that's the team total. All right. Let's talk about Bellarmine. Let's talk about Louisville. Now, this is the game that we've seen the biggest line movement on, and I think that we're getting a little ahead of ourselves. Yes, David Craig is a beast on Mercer. I did like him a lot last night. He was really good in the absence of Shannon Grant. Sorry, I lost my train of thought for a second. We got to pump the brakes on what we're thinking when it comes to this Bellarmine Louisville game. Now, let's consider the situation. Last year, this team was able to put up 49 points from 2 guys who aren't on the roster anymore, CJ Fleming and Dylan Penn. Outside of that, I'm not sure Bellarmine had a double-digit score in that game. Now we're saying those 2 guys are off the roster, and we're going up against a Louisville team that no longer has Malik Williams or Samuel Williamson or a variety of other guys. But there's a 5-point movement in favor of them? What, because they play a good system and that it's an in-state rivalry or an in-state wannabe rivalry? That game smells fishy. Smells fishy as fuck to me. Now, don't get me wrong. Louisville lost to a non-D1 opponent at home in the exhibition season. That is kind of scary when you're talking about laying 8 or 8.5 points with. And I can completely sympathize with that. Louisville, if they want to be their best, it's very simple. Jalen Withers has to score from all 3 levels. L. Ellis has to penetrate and get to the rim and free throw line as often as he's able to. And then you're going to need a guy like Sidney Curry to be the anchor of your defense. I'm not sure that it happens in this game, but with the line move, the only way that I could bet it full game on the spread would be to take Louisville. So I'm not going to be playing it. I was definitely one of the eager beavers and got in on Bellarmine, I don't even know, 24 hours ago. So it could be one of those major screwball games. I think that when we look at it, it has a similar ring to what we saw with Ryder and Ryder and Providence last night, with the asterisks being the two top scorers for Bellarmine are gone. So I think that Bellarmine is best suited if they play a low-scoring game against this Louisville team. And this Louisville team, they're not winning any awards for scoring buckets, period. So best of luck any way that you play it. All right, 2 more games, and then I'll get you out of here. Sorry, I'm talking a little long today. Florida Gulf Coast and San Diego. Now, we've seen this number go up and down so far today. I think that when we look at Florida Gulf Coast, they do have a lot of talent. I think that this is a situational letdown spot. San Diego and Steve Lavin know what's coming in. And I just think that when you look at this San Diego team, forgive me if there's any USC fans that ever watch this, I think San Diego is better. I like Chase Townsend. He obviously had that injury last year. He wasn't himself when he got back. I think he's going to be himself. I love Eric Williams coming over from Oregon and Duquesne before that. Marcellus Earlington is still there, and he's been utilized fantastically, like a bruiser, high percentage shooter. I think San Diego wins this game. I think they cover 3.5 points. I think that they bring their best early on. And my only hope from what I didn't see in San Diego's exhibition game is just I want to see Nick Lynch. I believe Nick Lynch went to Lehigh. He's just a guy that I think that could be very useful to this front court. He brings a lot of the same size. He has a ton of experience, albeit in a lower conference. At the stretch 4 position, he could do some damage. So I'm very interested to watch this game. I'm glad that it's at 10 o'clock because there won't be a lot of other games competing with it for my attention. And I think San Diego covers 3.5 points. I'm hoping I can get 3 or 2.5 before the game starts. So with 6 hours before it starts, I'm just sitting back and waiting. But I will not be on Florida Gulf Coast tonight. I may wear my Florida Gulf Coast hat, but I will not be betting on them. All right. Florida A&M and Portland. This is a game that moved while I was doing this show. Or doing this video, not a show, because it's not entertaining. I don't understand it. I think that this is an overreaction to Oregon's win against Florida A&M. I do think that Florida A&M is going to continue to have trouble scoring the basketball because let's be brutally honest. MJ Randolph moved on from this team, and when you lose a guy that did everything, led you in points, rebounds, assists, free throw percentage, that is something that you just don't fill at this level for FAMU. I think Portland is definitely going to be quality, but that's because of their coaching. I just think that they're not as good as they were last year because they don't have Chris Austin. Chris Austin is out injured. Oh, no, excuse me. He graduated. You don't have him. You don't have Moses Wood. I just think that you're missing some pieces that made this team much better than they were last year. I'm not sure that they scored that much. So I wanted to get on Portland at 22 or 22.5. At 25, I don't really want any part of it. I'd rather watch the game and bet it live. I think that at 140.5, you're really asking a lot of Florida A&M to score to get that number over. I don't think Portland's putting up 90 points. That's just the thing. So I think that this game still could go under, and I have to say I disagree with the line move. So if you were to ask for a lean on this game, I would say that I lean towards the under at 141, but I haven't bet it yet. So, well, that does it for the card. I think that we got a bunch of different interesting games, and I do like how it was scheduled today because you got like 4 or 5 games at each time slot, so you can rotate them around your screens and whatever way that you watch the games. If you're watching on ESPN Plus, you're just using your tablet to freaking flick back and forth through. If you're an IPTV guy like me, you actually got to use the remote, find the channels, write down the channel numbers, and then flick back and forth. So, like right here, I had 11 games I wanted to watch on ESPN Plus. I wrote down all the numbers. And then by the end of the game, I already have them memorized. Okay. I think that this is a card where you want to be careful how much you're betting full game. Take advantage of first half numbers and take advantage of live betting. I will say this, though, for anybody that bets on Bet365, I do not like the new juice that they have. It's ridiculous. Minus 140, minus 135, plus 100s on the dogs are great. But when you want to make a live play and then you see that number, you're like, I can't fucking invest an extra $40 on a bet, on a live bet. I just can't do it. So definitely having to utilize some of the new Canadian books that are legal here. With them being smaller than some of your normal books, I find it better for live betting and getting better numbers closer to minus 110. So definitely explore that and enjoy tonight's college basketball. I think that we have 3 or 4 games that are freaking must watches. Davidson, Wright State, South Dakota State, Boise, Bellarmine, Louisville, and then Florida Gulf Coast and San Diego. So fuck with your eyes open. Have a great one. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Later.